Hey, it is Thursday. It's Rumor Innuendo. I'm Dominic D'Angelo. It's ad-free shows. It's SEScoops.com. It's Robert Karpelis, W Creative _ish. I almost screwed up your username, and I haven't done that in a while. Hey, Robert.
It's been a little while. It's nice to have you here. In case you hear in the background, Dom's got birds chirping. So it's that kind of day here on Rumor and Innuendo. We will say hi to some folks joining us live in the chat. Christopher Zanto says, good morning and welcome all my friends to the show that never ends. Hey, Chris, we're so glad you could attend. Come inside. Come inside. Ken says, what up, Innuendites?
Ooh, I like it.
Alt Jake says, Innuendons. We got to come up with something. We'll figure it out. One thing we're going to figure out for sure, guys, is we have 30 minutes and about 75 minutes worth of content. And best of all, Dom, I don't have any deliveries coming today.
That's great. I'm still waiting to hear. You never know. I think something's going to happen, Robert.
I do caution this because I am supposed to have someone come to do some pressure washing.
Oh my God.
Outside, but it's raining at the moment, so I'd be shocked if that person came within this half-hour corridor. He was supposed to come yesterday afternoon, and he called. He's like, the truck's broken. I'll be there on Thursday. I'm like, just not between 12 and 12:30. I got stuff to do.
Well, somebody who was there on AEW Dynamite last night was Darby Allin. Let's kick it off with that. We got a lot of good stuff to cover, though, today on the lineup. But as usual, for Thursdays, we will cover AEW Dynamite to start things off. Robert, we talked about it yesterday. Losing Eddie Kingston seemed like a big gut shot to the company when it comes to what they have planned for Double or Nothing and then filling in the gaps. Darby's a surprising one because we didn't think he would be back for a while with a broken foot, with getting hit by a bus, all that stuff. But here he is, showed up in Dave LaGreca's pink robe, and he is back. So what do you think about implementing Darby into this match? And is it good stuff? Is that the appropriate substitute, would you say?
So losing Eddie Kingston was a metaphorical tummy punch for our friends at All Elite Wrestling. They managed to modify the footage, use the footage on their TV. I don't want to say modify. It wasn't like it was AI, but they were able to use the footage and show that it was the Bucks and Okada and Jack Perry who can claim that they were responsible for the injury. And Darby fits the old Vince McMahon philosophy of, if you got to give him a replacement, give him something better. And I'm not saying Darby Allin is better than Eddie Kingston, but in terms of storyline, Darby is one of the four pillars. It was Darby, it was Jack Perry, it was Sammy Guevara, it was MJF. MJF, we know, is out injured or maybe not under contract. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So it's not like he's showing up here. Sammy is coming back from his suspension. But if memory serves me correctly, when he left, he was a heel.
Yes.
So it wouldn't make a ton of sense for Sammy to be the guy to show up, or the guy to show up to defend AEW, a company that keeps suspending him for being a dumbass. So I guess you have what's left of Darby Allin. Scott Chaplin, my co-host on Working Stiff, said, well, there's, Danny Garcia. And I'll be honest, I forgot that Garcia was on the roster.
It's just telling.
It felt like they were teasing potentially Claudio filling in that spot. Claudio showing concern that Danielson is participating in this Anarchy in the Arena match, and what's this going to do for his longevity and his career. So maybe the idea was Claudio was going to go in there to try to protect his friend, maybe turn on him there. We'll see. I do like that Ken had a suggestion in the chat that the Bucks, Okada, and Jack were driving the bus that ran over Darby. No, the Bucks and Jack were driving the bus that ran over CM Punk and helped make another $1 billion for TKO.
That's it.
But Darby in a crazy match where there's no rules and you can do a bunch of wacky stunts makes total sense. I would say I don't know how healed he is, but it's Darby. He doesn't care.
Sure, he doesn't. I think he is a great substitute for Eddie. Obviously Eddie can't do it. If you saw on Instagram, he is in a huge leg boot. like huge leg boot. It's up to his like upper thigh. So hopefully it's nothing too severe, but it looks severe.
They put him in there like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Give him that ridiculously large crowbar that Claudio came out with.
Right.
That was,
Taz couldn't find the name of. He was like, I know what it's called. I just can't think of it right now.
that looked like the crowbar like the Beagle Boys would use on DuckTales. Like it was so comically large.
Yes.
And he comes out there with it. Taz trying to figure out what the name of that thing was. The fact that he didn't call it like a Fernum, would have that would have popped me. But
that would have been something.
Yeah, you're getting so it's Darby, it's Brian, and FTR. Sure, you know what? Those are guys for various reasons who would satisfy the assignment of representing All Elite Wrestling. But once again, no Tony Khan at all represented on the show.
No,
he tried to open that one episode, and then the static and whatever, and the Bucks whisked the show away. But if he's able to get a remote hookup, like we're talking here, you're in beautiful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm in rainy Boca Raton, Florida right now. We're able to communicate. We're able to talk to the thousands of folks who are joining us live across the globe. There's no reason Tony can't do that. Is he afraid of the Bucks? Is he cowering? Is he in a coma? What's going on, man?
I don't know.
Free Tony.
We need an authority figure that's not Tony Khan there to kind of regulate a little bit. But what did you? I guess this will lead us into our other topic of Christopher Daniels being fired. Let go. Future endeavored after the tag match. What do you think of that, Robert?
So yesterday, people who look suspiciously like you and I were going over the AEW preview, and we're like, why on earth is it Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal in a tag eliminator match?
Yeah.
We knew there was going to be some kind of storyline. The storyline here was that Christopher Daniels was subsequently fired after the match was over. There is no reason, all due respect to Sydal, who I think is wildly talented. When he was Evan Bourne, he was completely underutilized.
Yes.
And all due respect to Christopher Daniels, who's just a dude who loves wrestling. There were a number of tag teams you could have put in that match. Could have put Top Flight in there. Could have put Private Party. I think they're a thing. Could have put fill in the name of a babyface tag team that could have gotten some exposure.
The Acclaim.
On I wouldn't use the Acclaim. I think they're a little too big. But there's teams that you could have put on there who aren't doing anything. And have the Bucks cheat to win. And then after the match, the Bucks are attacking these guys. And Christopher Daniels, as an AEW executive, comes running out there to try to break it up, which you see on Raw all the time. And that is what provokes them to say, how dare you stop what we're doing? You're fired. You accomplish all your goals. Instead, you gave the audience a match that was a foregone conclusion. And a lot of AEW Dynamite was a foregone conclusion. That doesn't make it unfun to watch. Doesn't make it bad, but there was no compelling stakes. And it's not the idea of we never really know who's going to win a match and whatever, but it's like, if you know it's going to be Yokozuna against Barry Horowitz, you got a pretty good idea what that finish is going to be. Right. And we all love Barry Horowitz, give him the pat on the back here, but you knew what you were getting as soon as you went into it. So it doesn't make for really dramatic, compelling television, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's okay. Like, yeah, you feel for Daniels and all that kind of thing, but I don't know. It's just that I don't like, and I said this yesterday, I don't like the eliminator matches. And sure enough, none of those eliminator matches meant anything, because we'll cover Swerve. That match didn't end up doing anything. And then same with this one. And we got Daniels fired. It just kind of seems a little. Now, I thought overall Dynamite was a good show. And I think they're taking the right steps in the right direction, where they're giving you storytelling elements to follow along and enjoy. There's still a little bit of holes in what they're trying to do, I think. And the execution of it all kind of feels a little like not next level storytelling. It's like they're storytelling, but it's just like basic paint by numbers pro wrestling storytelling going on right now.
Sometimes it feels like playing the old SmackDown games. You're playing storyline mode.
Yeah.
And it's just, well, we need to have these guys fire someone for a reason. If Daniels was a constant presence on TV and somebody that we felt compelled by and connected to, sure. And if you knew you were going to do this, you should have over the last few weeks been using Christopher Daniels as a producer, like on camera doing
on air,
stuff. So you're setting it up. So it's like, oh, wow, everybody likes Christopher Daniels. Something bad happens to him. Fine. In this instance, it didn't feel particularly strong. And this is the kind of stuff Vince would always do. Like they fire an announcer or you fire a referee or something like that. They could have fired a ref, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Plenty of them. I will gladly start. Guys, you know what would make me want to buy your pay-per-view? If you, because you're dastardly heels. If you fired Bryce Remsburg, I would be so mad, but I would pay money. And if you're telling me Bryce Remsburg wouldn't be on TV ever again as a referee, I would be so enraged because of how much I love him and don't think he distracts from the rest of your product. I will give you $50 for that to see you get your comeuppance, you dastardly young bucks.
Robert, I mean, if you're going by social media, if you're going by a lot of veteran insight too as well, that would be a babyface move, them firing certain referees.
That was the God.
I know.
Dumb.
I wanted to.
What's next? What's next? What next? What other thing happened on Dynamite that we're going to talk about? By the way, peek behind the curtain, because we do that a lot. We like curtain peek behind. Dom text last night to the Working Stiff group. I'm watching Dynamite live.
Yes.
I wrote back very proudly, I am not, because I wanted to watch the season finale of X-Men 97.
Ooh.
And that was a far better decision. I watched Dynamite this morning. I still saw the show, but as the great Mike Lawrence said, at least one of these shows was well booked with clear, defined heels.
Well, okay, here's another thing too. And you mentioned this last week after watching Dynamite, was like they're not making Swerve Strickland look like a credible champion and like smart. I was like, I didn't watch Dynamite last week, but I was like, I'd have to watch it to kind of see it, to kind of get a gauge of it. Here, Robert, they went back to that well where it was like, yeah, okay, Christian tricks Swerve, but it's a really stupid, again, paint by numbers kind of story where Swerve does not look like a credible guy that's like on top of his game here. It's he defeated Brian Cage, great match, but again, we talked about how Brian Cage is underutilized and misused. And here we go with this, where a simple low blow, an attack from behind, and Nick Wayne gets the better of him yet again. And it's just, I like Christian Cage. I like Swerve a lot. I think they both have great, star potential, obviously still at this juncture. But come on, I don't know. I wasn't buying this one.
So here's the thing. The reason why I'm so critical of how they're presenting Swerve, who I think is tremendous.
Yes.
And should be the franchise player that they're holding him out to be. They were in Washington. Swerve is from Washington. He is the home state guy. And in wrestling world, if you're from that state, every place is your hometown.
Right. That's
general rule of pro wrestling world. If you're Mercedes Moné and you're from Boston and they're in Wilkes-Barre, you're the hometown girl. Just, it doesn't matter. I had to think of another city they would run in that area. Wilkes-Barre is Pennsylvania. I realized as soon as I said it too. I don't know.
West Newbury,
Massachusetts. There we go. Even better. Because I kept thinking like you were from Pittsburgh. I'm just
okay.
The point of the geographical point rather than I swear I'm very good at geography. I don't know what just happened there. I have an anecdote about that in a moment. But you're in Washington where that crowd is going to go nuts for Swerve. And you want him to feel like a big deal to your national and international global audience. Why he wasn't put in that ring with the audience chanting his name, having him cut a promo, just feeding off of that crowd before that match, that's all you needed. Mm-hmm. They were completely bought in on Swerve. They would have gone absolutely just bat crap bananas, as they're trying to not curse. They didn't do that. Instead, you had Swerve wrestle a match with Brian Cage, which was a very good match, but it felt like a middle of the show kind of match. It didn't feel like a world title match. And the post-match attack, yes, he's holding this chair like he's going to hit Brian Cage, and Christian's, shake harder, boy, like on The Simpsons kind of thing, and then he gets low blowed and beaten down. It's like, dude, watch the show, like watch wrestling. There's different ways to get to it.
Sure.
The other piece that kind of irked me, not that, but storytelling wise, if you're sitting in the booking meeting, you're sitting in the writer's room, and you're coming up with ideas of different things, and you're doing this angle where Christian uses a picture of Swerve's kids, hits him with the picture frame, they rub the blood on the picture, which I loved. All that was really great stuff. On the same show, you don't do the bit where Malachi Black takes Adam Copeland's wedding ring.
Yeah.
You don't do family stuff twice in one show. You want things to feel impactful and stand on their own, because you're going to come away from that going, I can't believe that they took that guy's wedding ring. What jerks. And I can't believe those guys rubbed the picture of the guy's kids in his bloody face. What jerks. Then you're just forced to compare them with one another.
Right.
Rather than feel like an organic moment. And the low blow, was a stiff shot to the crotch. And guys, if you are looking for a stiff shot to your crotch, can we recommend our friends at Blue Chew? I had no idea how I was getting there, and here we are.
You did it.
This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Let's talk about sex. Guys, remember the days when you were always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Visit BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. But there's nothing discreet about your package. Guys, when it's time to slipper the gimmick, you want to make sure that you are ready to go. And Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. They're going to mistake it for Cesaro's crowbar. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR, to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode of Rumor and Innuendo.
Robert, there's more to talk about, too, when it comes to Dynamite.
Hey.
Hook came back and confronted Chris Jericho and had a squash match, too. But he got bopped on the head, Jericho did, with the microphone, got all bloody. But I kind of like this segment, Robert. I'm all for it. The Washington crowd was chanting, "Please retire." I think Jericho had a pretty good response to all that. And I kind of like the learning tree, Robert. I gotta admit it. I like it.
The hook angle sucks. I ain't telling you no lies. That is we're gonna get a letter from John Popper and Blues Traveler, but that's okay. Here's the thing: the Jericho stuff is grim death, because you're taking a very serious situation involving Chris Jericho and you're trying to make it into an angle.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why the crowds have felt the way they have about him was questions about his potential behavior elsewhere. An audience is saying, we don't want to see this guy anymore. Now, it's, even when we do see him, the in-ring product and the promos that he's delivering are not at the level of the guy that we remember. And when they're chanting, "Please retire," it's not heel heat. It's, we don't want to keep seeing this. Please preserve what's left of your legacy and go away. And it is the very definition of go away heat. And it's not helping Hook. It's not helping in Chris. It just feels like a mess, in my opinion. Like, I knew it was so bad that even Scott Chaplin, who loves AEW, was like, "Oh, this was absolutely just awful."
Yeah, I'm in the very minority there, I think, because I don't, you got to look at, I think a lot of the audience is obviously the ardent audience. That's what AEW tailors to. That's what they tune into, everything like that. But if you have the casual fan watching Chris Jericho, they're not very aware of the allegations or thoughts about him or the stories that have surfaced or anything like that when it comes to certain things like this. So I don't know necessarily if it really will resonate in that. It just resonates with their ardent fan base, which I guess if you're AEW, you do want to be conscientious of because you're not growing your fan base in certain regards. So there is that in turn with it. I kind of like the spin that Jericho is putting on this whole thing where it comes to like, hey, reinventing myself, to coming up with a thing. Because, yeah, I mean, starting off with Hook, it just seems like flat and stuff like that. There's a little bit you can kind of grow with, I think, with Big Bill and certain things like that. So I don't think it's necessarily I think it's a good change of pace to what the show had. I think, and I know I'm in the minority on that, but
we'll agree to disagree. Something that surprised me a little bit. The Willow Nightingale Mercedes Moné contract signing.
Yeah.
Not because the delivery was spectacular, but because I think that they've finally accepted the fact that Mercedes Moné is a heel.
Yes.
That when she talks, when she tries to be earnest, when she tries to be sincere, she is so incredibly unlikable and so incredibly inauthentic that you're left with no choice but to make her the heel. And she is very good at playing that heel role. She is not very good at speaking like a human. So I like that tweak. I like that Willow is kind of embracing this Mick Foley-like character that she is, someone who appreciates the history of wrestling. Not only did she put over TBS, she inadvertently put over WWE by calling it a Titantron.
Right. I
love that. But that's because she's a fan.
Yeah.
Like you call it a Band-Aid, you don't call it a bandage.
Right.
We all call it the Titantron, even though it's not. They're not Titan sports anymore.
Mm-mm.
It's part of the fun of it. If they lean into this babyface heel dynamic, I think this thing can really work. What say you, Mr. D'Angelo?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I think because Mercedes struggled being a babyface, getting over like with the delivery of the lines. But I really think in turn, you're building somebody up like a Willow Nightingale who has that babyface connection with the fans. And so it's further embracing that. And you're pushing back against that Mercedes Moné kind of like vibe where she's just not clicking as a babyface. So I think it's a win on both ends. And the powerbomb was great through the table and everything like that. I thought it was a great spot and everything to that effect. So
solid physicality. And the last thing I'll put over before we move on, because there's a lot of other stuff to talk about. Will Ospreay.
Yes.
Whatever they're paying Will Ospreay, they need to add an extra zero. This dude has now gotten me to care about a Roderick Strong match.
Right.
That is like the next thing he's gonna be able to do is convince Dom to wear sleeves. Like this man can do it all. The pacing of that promo, the sincerity. It almost made me think that he cared about being the international champion, which is different from being the continental champion.
Yes.
Which is different from being the intercontinental champion. When I was at MLW, I pitched we needed a secondary title, and I wanted it to go on MJF because I wasn't allowed to make him world champion. I was like, I want to give him a title of some sort, so I wanted to call it the Metropolitan title.
Oh,
I thought that was a damn it's only defended in big cities.
That's
cool. And I got told, oh, they're not going to understand what Metropolitan means. So I still think it's a cool idea. I still think it's a cool title. Here's hoping it someday happens somewhere else. Dom, where else are we moving to? Because there's other stuff. There's something in the heading about Nash versus Shane Taylor.
Yeah,
Kevin Nash and Shane Taylor feuding?
Yeah, let's get to that. And we can cover the other topics further down tomorrow or whatever it may be if we run over time here.
Sorry, Billy. And did you see Billy Corgan, by the way, claims he has another TV deal?
That's what I hear. I can't wait.
I love it.
Get further information on that. Maybe we'll get him on to chat about that a little bit.
Guys, remember, tweet at Billy Corgan. Let him know that you want to hear him and see him on Rumor and Innuendo, and we will make this happen. We will bump whatever guest we're going to have to make sure that we make room for REM lead singer Billy Corgan.
100%. All right. So yes, several weeks ago on Click This Podcast, which I am social media guy for, and so I sit in on the
You do
weekly
another
recordings.
podcast?
Yeah, believe it or not. So,
which, by the way, you're doing a hell of a job on the social media for that I was unaware that you're even doing.
Oh, you didn't even know? You legit didn't know?
Oh, I didn't know.
Okay. Ooh, how about that? That's another show you used to
I know. Again, there's the
God.
roster of people that you have under you. It's amazing. It's a who's who of who cares. Anyway, what did you do at Click This? So, which obviously I listen to every week. Is it a weekly show?
Yeah, it's a
monthly
show.
Weekly show. Love it.
Several weeks ago, Nash was on the show, and he mentioned that he saw Shane Taylor.
Wait, isn't it his show?
Yeah.
We're like, oh, Nash was on, as if he was a guest on his own show.
Happened. He was on the show, and he mentioned Shane Taylor. He didn't know who Shane Taylor's name was. It was when Shane Taylor took on Orange Cassidy, and he called him the pear-shaped guy. And then he also talked about how he jobbed out to Orange Cassidy via knockout punch, I believe it was, Orange Crush punch. And so Nash had some criticisms on that. And so Shane Taylor replied the following week stating, I'm going to bring up the tweet here, stating the following: criticism is part of the game, comes with the territory. I appreciate the critique, Kevin Nash. You have an open invitation to Hainia Muay Thai in Houston to train and spar with me as many rounds as you like. Looking forward to discussing my shape and my name with you in person, OG. And so Nash caught wind of that tweet, replied to it on the show the following week, and basically said that Shane Taylor, it would not be a good look for Shane Taylor either way, because if he were to go there and he was legit able to spar with a 64-year-old man that's had countless orthopedic surgeries and all that stuff, he would not look good. It would not pan out for him. And so then on top of it, he also said he wouldn't job to Orange Cassidy. He said you would already have lost the thing by doing all that. And so instead, he challenged him to a bodybuilding competition 6 months down the road. So then Shane Taylor responded, this just yesterday or 2 days ago. All right, now, Kevin Nash, 6 months from now, you'll see a different Shane Taylor. Following your superb example, I'll also put a needle in my ass, drink myself stupid, and let my ego and greed destroy a company and cost my peers their jobs.
Wow. Okay, so the dumbest thing of all of this,
yes,
in what he just said, there's a lot of dumb things. Nash was the reason Nash became a champion in the WWF was because of the post-steroid trial.
Yes.
And they wanted to promote a guy that was clean. And because he was tall and imposing, they put the championship on him.
Yes.
So there's lots of stuff you could take shots at for Nash, but that's not the first one I would go with.
No, and Robert, to your point, Nash responded, and he had the following to say. The wrong window popped up here for me, but give me a second.
He had the weird David Letterman laugh, by the way.
That was a David Letterman laugh. I'd actually be happy if you had blood work done. Funny, I got my push in the WWF because I was the biggest guy clean. Have never flunked a test for steroids and no longer drink. I'm a Mark statement of shutting down a company. I also caused the sale of the Braves, Hawks, and Thrashers. Obviously, the most influential person in our industry. So there's the Kevin Nash's thoughts on that. Robert, to follow up, are you a millennial technically, or are you a Generation X, Gen X?
I'm in this weird limbo period. There's like a term for whatever the hell it is, because I'm 82. I'm 82. 82. So okay. I'm like, it's like the corridor of if you were born when one of the Star Wars movies came out, you're not quite Gen X, but you're not quite a millennial. So I'm in this just sort of frozen in ember world.
Yes.
Where I look at the millennials, I'm like, you damn kids. And then I look at like the Gen X people, and I'm like, I wish I was around to get to go to those coffee houses at the time. And listen to the Spin Doctors unironically.
Well, so the reason I say that is because I am a millennial, and so is Shane Taylor. And so my thought process on this is, hey, I will take exception that the millennials were a little bit sensitive. And I think a lot, and even more in that regards to Generation X, there's a little bit more blunt, don't care, things like that. And you go back another generation, that's another thing. But I will say I've had to train myself to not be as sensitive when it comes to dealing with an older generation. Here, I think Shane Taylor needs to not take the criticism too harshly, I think, and kind of accept that that's kind of the way things are. Just not really properly handled, I would say.
Here's what's really funny and really weird and really just stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Shane Taylor, it is no secret if you see Shane Taylor, the way he is shaped and the way that he looks is not that of a traditional professional wrestler.
Right.
Nash is correct to point out that Shane Taylor doesn't look great. And there are larger wrestlers right now, Bronson Reed, Otis, who are being presented as legitimate threats despite their size. They still look impressive. Shane Taylor looks like a lava lamp in some degree. And rather than embracing that, owning that, and saying, yeah, okay, I have this unconventional look, but I'm still able to go, he wants to sit here and pick a fight with Nash about it, where he's going to look dumb. And Nash at some point is going to point out, like, dude, when I was champion, I had a feud with Mabel. Like, right. I know what it is to have to wrestle a guy who's genuinely, like, so out of shape that he injured me. And I feel like at his core, Nash is kind of being a jerk, but he's also kind of wanting to help people like get better.
Yeah.
And they don't want to hear the criticisms, the critiques, and then to go lean on, well, you know, you're a drunk and you're taking steroids and all this. It doesn't make anybody look good, because it's not going to make anybody any money. I take that back. It's not going to make Shane Taylor any money. What it did is it got us on this show talking about Kevin Nash's Click This podcast that apparently you work for, had no clue. Now I'm more keenly aware of this show. You're putting eyeballs and listens in Kevin Nash world, not helping Shane Taylor at all. You're not getting this, because you're not getting this match in the ring. And now when people see Shane Taylor, they're going to be thinking even more about how he looks than anything else. It's ridiculous. What's not ridiculous is the fact that Dominic D'Angelo has apparently built a wrestling multimedia empire, second to none. And the first one we're promoting, because the hell with Rob Van Dam and Greg Gagne and everybody else, working stiff.
Yes.
So today it's Thursday. This afternoon we're going to be posting this our second episode of the week. This one is myself, Scott Chaplin, and Mike Lawrence. And we didn't really know what we were going to talk about at first. We knew we were going to talk Dynamite. Mike and Scott talk about, they both worked on the Tom Brady roast. Mike was literally there, talks about being in the writer's room, talks about working with the talent, the similarities between wrestling and football. It's one of the best episodes I think we've done. I think this and the companion piece we dropped on Tuesday with me and Dan St. Germain covers the entire gamut of what it is that we want to do as a podcast. It's a hell of a lot of fun. It is well worth your time to go check this out. It will be up later on today. Go out of your way to check it. You can also go to rvdtv.com every Monday at 4:20 p.m. Dominic D'Angelo talks to the man himself, Rob Van Dam, who has yet to be a guest on this show, by the way. They break down all the exciting things. He's also got Straight Talk with the Boss, Greg Gagne and Magnum TA. They talk about Magnum TA's car accident. You've also got a Bill Alfonso show.
Yes.
Called
Right down the middle.
Called What the Fonz. I don't know what it's called. Oh,
right down the middle, Daddy.
Right down the middle. Right down the. I was so close to. I used to do this all the time to Scott when he would do his plugs at the end, and I would mess up what his name of his other podcast was, like, because one was called Garbage Days and one was called Out for Smokes, and I just would conflate them and mess with them. There's a lot of talk in the chat right now about what we are. If we're Xennials, there's the Goonies generation, elder millennial.
I like Goonies generation. I'll take that. Hey, you guys. I guess it wouldn't be that though.
No. Goonies is a fine film, but that is not the film that defines our youthful generation.
You went Back to the Future, Robert. That's what
I'm a huge Back to the Future mark. Actually, my dog is literally named Marty McFly.
That's fantastic.
It's his first birthday tomorrow. So,
wow.
Having a big celebration for a dog.
That's great.
I love that dude. I love that dog. He can do no wrong. He's the best, even if he made a cameo appearance yesterday, because I thought I muted my mic and apparently I just muted my headset. So you guys heard Marty barking. as people were trying to move the bed out of the room. But dude, we are so over on time. I mean, it's like Dynamite last night.
Yep. Overrun, baby.
It's an overrun. So on behalf of the busiest producer in all of wrestling to have not yet been fired by the Young Bucks, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.